Recording. Hi, this is Kirk Davis. I'm here with Dr. Zia from Retrocausal, and it's a pleasure to be here. And first of all, I want to thank you for becoming a member of CAMPS and becoming a member of our community.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Thank you for taking us in, inviting us. It's been a great, fantastic experience. Would love to talk more about that.
Well, I've been so excited about your technology. And would you go ahead and just share your background and what kind of brought you to this point? Because I think you have something very special for manufacturers and CAMPS members.
Yeah, I can say something about what we do first, right? So we are Retrocausal, and our focus is on augmenting human workers, augmenting assembly line workers to make them more efficient, help them avoid mistakes, train them better, and basically serve as an assistant. And we use camera-based systems to understand understand their activities and serve as basically as helpers to them as they're doing their jobs. That's basically what we do at Retrocausal, and our mission is to make we basically take people who hands-on workers at every vertical, really starting out from manufacturing, and
Yes.
and move them upstream in terms of in terms of higher skill work, right? And that's kind of our mission: enable them to do more and more, take on more and more challenging jobs, and so on.
I have to tell you that I think you're hitting on a topic that's important to all of manufacturing, and that is upskilling the worker, but maybe in one of the easiest ways possible.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, exactly.
we'll get into kind of an explanation and demonstration, but I think it's fascinating, Dr. Zia, where you came from. So tell us a little bit about your background and history.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can talk about my educational background, right? I'm an electrical engineer by training. Spent a lot of time in the mid to early 2000s working on what was called back then wireless sensor networks. It's called Internet of Things, IoT now. Spent quite a bit of time on that. Worked at Siemens Corporate Technologies at their Munich headquarters for a while, building the first versions of what was called back then Siemens sensing middleware. So this is basically exactly what's called. This was the predecessor of what's AWS or Amazon Web Services IoT or Azure IoT kind of services, right? And we was looking into industrials, manufacturing, supply chain even back then. So this is about 2007, 2008. A lot of my work, early graduate work was funded by the biggest German machine vision company. So they do a lot of visual part detection work, deploy a lot of that kind of technology. So that's where I got some early introduction into quality control, and saw also the weaknesses of these kinds of systems. So some of the work that we did is part of, let's say, using 3D CAD data, rendering it, training quality control models, visual models on that, is deployed by Cognex and Instrumental and these kinds of big companies today. From there, I moved on for my PhD to Switzerland, worked in computer vision, moved from there to London, taught at Imperial College London for a while, worked with graduate students there in robot vision.
Hmm.
Got to learn a lot about AR from there. A lot of the folks that I know from there went on to found their own companies. London happens to be, in some sense, the Silicon Valley of Europe.
Okay.
And a lot of those companies ended up being acquired by, let's say, Facebook. These are the folks who are in the core of AR teams at Facebook, and so on and so forth. From London, I moved to the Bay Area, worked at a large Japanese conglomerate, working with automotive manufacturers throughout Japan and in the US as well. And from there, moved up to Microsoft in the HoloLens science team. So HoloLens is this device, which is this assistive device, an AR platform for frontline workers, if you will, a head-mounted display device where basically you can display assistive data, explain to them what's going on, assist them and so on. and that's kind of where we got started really. I met my co-founders there, and that's where the journey began really.
It's fascinating to me that, a lot of people are making a big deal out of the headsets and the AR, uh, but you didn't really go that direction. You've gone a little bit different direction, which I think is very intelligent.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah. So what we saw was, uh, I absolutely love, a lot of these headset devices that head mounted devices that have come out recently. And I think that they have amazing niche use cases. But I still thought that for widespread adoption, it's still, a few years off. I'm sure that next year, let's say Apple is going to come up with their own device. It's probably not going to have all of that perceptual gear. It won't have a lot of cameras on it. Maybe it's just going to be a display. But I think it's still going to take, 5 years from there to, to have a HoloLens version that's really portable, and that's really, useful in industrial settings. So that's why we thought would go in a route that's probably more scalable in some sense.
I really appreciate when I saw what you were doing, and I was blown away by it. And I think I've come to understand how practical it is, to manufacturers today. So it's interesting with your background that you were at the early stages of the things that we're just now starting to talk about, and they've come so far. And that's why I think if a manufacturer really takes a hard look at what you're doing and thinks about not just today, but also how this is going to evolve for them down the road, it'll be a little bit of an Amazon story of starting off in a garage, but really taking advantage of the technological capabilities, especially when it comes to upskilling workers. So anyway, I think that you've really hit something important here. So I wanted to, I think maybe at this point it'd be good to show them, what you've got, and then we could talk some more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me share. How about I start with a quick demo video. Let's do that, and then I can walk you through a couple of slides. Let me share my screen real quick, and let me know if, oh, okay, I can share the sound.
Today's factory lines can be incredibly complex. Operators work tirelessly on these lines, yet customizations, fatigue, and inexperience lead to mistakes. Our retroactivity solution assists operators by pointing out any assembly mistakes they make in real time. Such local continuous quality control improves first-time yields by 10% and reduces quality issues by 60%. Our patent-pending computer vision technology understands complex human activities, as well as fine details of the parts being assembled. To set up retroactivity, one only needs to record a handful of video demonstrations and provide the bill of process. These demonstrations are used to learn a computational model of the activity, which is ready to deploy within a few hours. Additionally, our analytics dashboard is used by lean engineers to perform root cause analysis and continually improve processes. Talk to us to schedule a demo today, and we'll help you to make the most out of your assembly lines.
So really, yeah, yes. So really, Kirk, what you're saying here is kind of a toyish demo. The reason because we can't show the actual customer data here.
It's time to say thank you to the place that matters most, starting with a free estimate from...
It's live, so that happens.
Yeah. So basically, what you're seeing there is a worker doing assembling a desktop computer, and when he makes a mistake, a camera is looking at him, and when he makes a mistake, the camera goes, "Hey, Andre, did you forget to put on connect the wires for the motherboard or something like that?" Right? And then oh yeah, I need to fix it before I move this product onto the next workstation, and that helps him bring first time yields by significant margins.
Well, that's just it. I think so. There was a book written by one of the co-founders or CEO of Intel, but he was talking about how in processes you have to look inside of the process to see if something's been gone wrong inside of the process before it gets to the end output.
Yeah.
And and what I just saw there was really this quality assurance all the way through the entire process.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I also learned when I was in at this large machine vision company, right? These are amazing solutions. I absolutely love them, right? Visual part detection solutions. But they are typically deployed at the very end of the line, right? You have a quality control station, and maybe you have one or two quality inspectors, moving around on the line, looking at what individual workers are doing. Are they making a huge, big mistakes or not?
Mistake, yeah.
Yeah, but the holy grail for quality control has always been continuous quality control, right?
Right.
Or look at it another way. Lean has really not hasn't really made it into quality control, because if you're detecting mistakes much farther down the line, that's not lean, right? Lean would be if
Right.
you figure out mistakes right where they happened, right? And that's what we want to do.
Now this is a camera watching the worker just like we saw. And it mentions in the video the AI that's happening in the background that's actually helping engineers identify lean and root cause analysis,
Yeah.
even, so find the root cause of problems.
Absolutely. So there are two sides to the solution. One side is really facing the worker, right, making his or her job easier, right, making sure that he or she is informed of mistakes, right, so they can fix those mistakes before passing the part on to the next station. But the other side of the coin is that we are building these dashboards for industrial engineers, so they know that there is a lot of variance happening in step two of a process, for instance, right? So the real cause of mistakes, even when they're assigned to humans, tend to be, there are two causes of mistakes. Yes, humans make mistakes, but secondly, your process can also be inherently wrong, right? It can have problems in the process. You can have problems in the process itself. So,
Yes.
so, so absolutely, that's the second piece of the puzzle is how can we help these industrial engineers improve their processes, give them better tools to identify root cause, identify probable root causes for mistakes and so on.
That's incredible. Everybody who's listening to this should be very excited right now because these are the day-to-day problems that manufacturers are facing. So if you don't mind me jumping into the question, I mean, this seems like it's got to be very expensive, but that it would be hard for a small to medium-sized manufacturer to afford. I mean, this is high-tech stuff.
No, not really. So again, the thing is that all of this compute happens really at the edge. So it's really, think of this as a smartphone that's running all of this compute. It's really a smartphone camera that's looking at your worker, right? You can install it, right, just like a dash cam that you will install, in your car perhaps.
Yeah.
And so
That
so in
is,
that sense, yeah, so in that sense, it's really we do charge it on a monthly subscription basis because we want to continue supporting these manufacturers with changes to their processes and so
that way
on.
it updates,
Yeah,
your data.
but the objective really is to be able to target small to medium manufacturers as well. In
Uh,
fact, even go all the way to Asian markets where basically they cannot afford, labor costs a lot cheaper. So basically, they can't afford a solution like an intelligent solution at all.
yeah, boy. This is, the flexibility. One of the things that we talked about is the aging workers, the baby boomers that are leaving, who maybe have all of this tribal knowledge.
Yeah.
They know how to get the job done and they're good at it. So how does your solution help, the business with this problem?
Yeah. So or let me step up, let me take one step back, right? So what we are seeing is that there are three major trends that are happening, uh, that that, uh, that cause all of these quality issues, right? One is, like you pointed out, experienced workers are retiring, right? And new workers are not taking their place, partly because uh, basically US manufacturing, we just outsourced all of our manufacturing. It doesn't seem that lucrative a career for a new entrant into the field, into the area, right?
And
Uh,
hard.
the- and then the second problem is that due to cyclical demands uh, and insane amounts of competition, a lot of workers that are employed in these industries are temporary workers, right?
Yeah.
Tend to be less skilled. And finally, there's a demand. There's this increasing demand for customization in products, right?
Yeah.
So I think I was telling you earlier that I talked to this commercial vehicles manufacturer, and every other truck that they produce is different,
Yeah.
right? So they offer so many options, and what all of these things are causing are increases in basically quality issues. And so you specifically talked about the experienced workers, right?
Yes.
What we allow doing is we record their activities as they're doing
Yeah.
jobs, right? And you can think of the AI as encompassing some of their knowledge,
Mhm.
right? So imagine that now that experienced worker is able to assist an inexperienced worker, right? So think of our retroactivity solution as an avatar for the incredibly experienced person to really be helping out a newcomer, right?
Boy. And so the newcomer actually learns more quickly because they're being assisted in this process. So this, I think you and I call this assistive technology, essentially.
Absolutely, absolutely, exactly.
But it brings, to me, it brings the very best of Industry 4.0, machine learning and visual technologies. Uh, and it's more on a subscription basis. So there's not it's not like you're buying a whole bunch of equipment, maybe other than cameras, which aren't that expensive anymore.
Yeah, exactly. This is Industry 4.0. We believe that I think one misconception or one rhetoric that we keep hearing again and again is that that robots and automation are coming to take all manufacturing jobs.
Right.
And sometimes robotics is equated with Industry 4.0, but in our experience that's not the case at all, right? What we are seeing is that robots tend to be, oftentimes they tend to be slower than human workers. They tend to take more space than human workers. They tend to be less flexible than human workers, and they tend to be really bad at picking and placing and working with small parts, right?
Now,
So we really believe that Industry 4.0 is all about assisting workers. Absolutely.
I love that. I just read that about Toyota. That was the Toyota way, was the fact that they're using technology in Industry 4.0 to empower their workers. And you truly do it. You truly empower the workers. And I think that getting people up to speed and ensuring the quality process all the way through, this has huge implications. And I think you also mentioned that the technology is pretty easy to adapt if you decide to change your process. So I don't know if you can talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked with companies such as large contract manufacturers, American contract manufacturers, which have 100 factories
Oh
in
yeah.
the US and elsewhere, and a big challenge for them has been, that they need to modify their processes sometimes overnight, sometimes over a weekend, right? And that use case was very important to us from day one. So what we've done is build capabilities in our solution that allow you to just record a bunch of videos. So instead of having to hire engineers that will manually code these experiences, right? You just record a bunch of videos, you press a button, uh, we train a machine learning model, press another button, presto uno, you are basically ready to deploy. So in a couple of hours, basically you are able to model and onboard an entirely new process or changes to an existing process.
So if a manufacturer did have multiple locations, or the same process is happening in a couple different places in their plant, it would you have one model that kind of sets it up so everybody does the right thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So once you train a model, you can basically deploy it as many times as you want for the same kind of process.
Now you mentioned customization, and I think this is very fascinating. But you mentioned this one particular manufacturer was getting custom orders. And so you mentioned there was a way that they could actually identify the process they're about to do and the technology keeps right up with them.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, right, there's an increasing demand, throughout the discrete manufacturing industry, from smart. I mean, even in smartphones, all the way up to home appliances, to commercial vehicles, and so on, to do a lot of customization, right? I'll give you the example of one commercial vehicles manufacturer whose every truck is really different from the other trucks. And what they're seeing is customers will demand, hey, I need a different kind of a dashboard, right? So they need the switches, the arrangement of the switches to be different, right? Gadgets have to be, I want this gadget, not that gadget. I want my data logger to be at this location instead of that location, right? And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how we tackle those use cases is either, if you have an existing MES system, a manufacturing execution system, we offer services to basically integrate into your manufacturing execution systems, so that the system at that point, at every workstation, knows which unit it is, what specific requirements are for that unit. But also, if you don't already have an MES system, and you're using something, some more traditional way of highlighting the customization, let's say by sticky notes, right? You have a yellow sticky note and a green sticky note and a purple sticky note. We can even customize the system to basically automatically work with those as well.
So they don't have to be worried that you can't accommodate their current system. You can accommodate their current system.
Absolutely. So we understand that nobody is going to switch from a traditional industries, from a traditional factory floor, to smart factory 5.0 overnight.
Right.
And we are basically happy to accommodate that. We have a services section. We have technical service engineers who will basically go in. They're going to be able to integrate into whatever existing systems you have, custom design solutions if that's what's needed. But basically make sure that you're able to improve your first time yields by 10%, reduce your manual assembly related quality issues by that 60%, or so on and so forth.
Yeah, I would imagine that there's a lot of data that would be helpful, to the management and to industrial engineers. So this is collecting data at the same time where they could identify opportunities, if you will, for increased production and.
Absolutely. So we do collect data, and it can, in a privacy preserving way, in a user anonymized way, such that management is still able to see productivity. They're still able to see non-value added steps that are in a process. You're able to, industrial engineers, like we talked about earlier, are able to do probable root cause analysis and those, all those nice things. Absolutely. Yeah.
This is revolutionizing the line worker, essentially. Because we talk so much about Industry 4.0 being digitally connecting machines to the internet. Now what you're doing is visually connecting workers to the internet and allowing, providing quality information that allows management to make better decisions about their processes and their people, bringing people up to speed. Anyway, I wanted everybody to hear about this.
Thanks a lot. Absolutely.
No,
So I don't know how much time you have, but basically, there's this idea of digital twins that's coming up a lot, right? I keep reading about it, but digital twins, that paradigm is somehow limited to assets,
yes.
right? Just to machines. And then I've also read about some efforts on digitizing places, or digital. And actually, some of that work we were doing at Microsoft with spatial anchors service and so on. And then there's there are efforts to digitize processes. But I've never heard of digitizing humans, the workers that are actually working with these assets, occupying these places and powering these processes, right? And that's kind of what our vision is. We want to digitize the human worker, so that all of the digital tools that are currently only available for, and that's one reason that a lot of companies have also tried to get into robotics, right? Whether robots suit them or not, you hear about Apple, Tesla, Boeing, all trying out robots. and
Yeah.
then abandoning those robots, by the way, because they find that they're not flexible enough. But the reason they went into those robots in the first place was because of visibility, right? And we want to build this digital or digital twins of humans, if you will, if you want to look at it in a broader sense.
I really like this.
Yeah,
Well, now essentially there's the opportunity now to really find the hidden value within your workers. That's we talk about Industry 4.0 about finding the hidden value within your assets and equipment, but this takes it to the best level, I think. Like you said, most people are doing traditional manufacturing anyway, and you're bridging the gap and in a way taking us to Industry 5.0 in a much faster way that's not going to disrupt, but actually I think add an element of return on investment. So I think that manufacturing leaders need to really look at this type of technology for identifying those opportunities for increased ROI, which is what we all want.
absolutely, absolutely.
That's why I think what you're doing is so intelligent and yet so common sense at the same time. It's just crazy how you blended so many things into the solution. And I want to thank you for, again, being here today, for joining camps, for, being a thought leader in this space. And I'm sure everybody who's listening to this heard something new and different and feels a little bit smarter as a result of the concepts that you shared. Now, this is my opportunity just to let you, is there anything else you would like us to know about your process, system, or service? I think, first of all, Dr. Zia, that we see that you're a very friendly, nice person to talk to. So I really highly recommend people get to know you and interact with you. We're going to have a camps event coming up soon where they're going to get a chance to, you'll be a panel speaker and they'll get a chance to hear you speak. And so I'm looking forward to that. But is there anything else you'd like us to know about you, Retrocausal, getting in touch with you? Is there anything else?
So yeah, so our website is there. Anybody feel free to drop me an email. We can get on a call anytime you want. Right. We are and by the way, thanks a ton, Kirk. Basically, CAMS has really connected us with a lot of manufacturers within Pacific Northwest, right? Within the PNW community, manufacturing community. You've given us a lot of, you've mentored us, you've shown us a lot of the real problems, right? We've really been able to home in on the specific problems that these manufacturers face. So it's been a fantastic experience. And yeah, happy to get in touch anytime.
Can you share your website with us? I don't know if you can share that.
Yeah.
Great.
I don't know if it's a good way to let me just share our screen. Share our screen. So basically, this retrocausal.ai. Somehow everybody confuses it with retrocasual.ai, which I can understand that. Basically, we really like this concept in quantum mechanics, which is being able to predict what happened in the a future event causing outcomes in the past. So causality is where something you do today causes something in the future.
Yeah.
And reverse causality or retrocausality is basically when something in the future causes the past to change, right?
Wow.
And we see ourselves as a company that basically understands mistakes that were going to happen in the future and basically avoid them right now in the present. So that's why we came up with the retrocausal name. But yeah,
I love that.
I understand that it's confusing.
No, but it's also very forward looking, and it's forward thinking, and it's saying, how can our thinking about the future change what's happening today? I think that's brilliant. Yeah, thank you for sharing your website screen just so people can access it and get to it. So retrocausal.ai.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend that you talk to Dr. Zia, and I don't know if you can stop sharing your screen for a moment so we can see you. Do you know something? Just to kind of wrap up here, you had shared with me the cost of quality errors in discrete manufacturing. It was kind of a stunning number.
Yeah. So it depends upon how you classify discrete manufacturing. right? You have process industries, you have discrete manufacturing, and it's really a spectrum. One way to cut it down is basically is to get this is to arrive at this number, $1.2 trillion for discrete manufacturing, right? And what we learned is that the cost of poor quality across discrete manufacturing in the US is about 20% of total sales, right? It's a
Yeah,
huge number, right?
number.
20% of $1.2 trillion is what, like $240 billion, right?
Mhm.
And it turns out that 68% of that $240 billion is human mistakes.
Human error. Yeah.
Human mistakes, right? So that's a huge number.
Um,
And basically, yeah.
I think people listening to this kind of will have a sense of their own numbers because they know customer complaints, they know maybe customers who don't return, or they have some kind of measure of returns happening because of quality. So when I would be surprised that there isn't a really high I guess gut level connection with what you're doing, but also what it could mean to them in the future to implement these type of technologies today. Otherwise, retrocausal. So, hey, Dr. Zia, thank you so much for your time, and I really wish you the very best, and I'm looking forward to more and more people learning about you.
Thanks a lot, Kirk. This was fantastic. Yeah. Always great talking to you. Appreciate
Thank
it.